Yeah, so this is what I call like maybe the most important of any of them this week, only because it's 3D modeling of a shaft, which is a really common in mechanical drafting. We do a lot of shaft work, we really do. There's just a lot of mechanical components that are shaft driven, and so I think I mentioned during a little preview of this assignment was to I'm going to use the revolve command. And I don't think we've used it. Yeah, we haven't used it on an assignment yet. There's one reason why I want to use it. And it's just my go-to way of building a shaft. A shaft is essentially just like cylinders. So we could use cylinder commands. We could use extrude, draw a circle and extrude it to make it. And that's not wrong. I think sometimes I may have to do that as well. So this isn't the only way to do a shaft. This is just the way, this is usually my default way. If I have a shaft that I need to model, I like to think in my mind, I'll try to use the revolve command. And, uh, and a lot of drafters do. And so this is what we're going to do. It's kind of got some oddball dimensions as well. Just kind of weird dimensions here. I'll just draw them right to the dimensions we give. But what I'm going to think about doing is it's almost like a mirror command. I'm going to kind of just draw half the shaft from its center line, from its center axis down it is how I view like a shaft from kind of end to end down the middle of it. It would be its axis down the shaft. And so I feel like I'm going to almost do kind of like a mirror it's kind of like a mirror in my mind is what I think, but it's a revolve around that center axis. So if I just draw the profile of what the shaft looks like and then revolve that around, it's going to work pretty well. Some of the details I will leave out though, and some of them I will leave in. So a cut across like this, I'm not going to draw that detail in because if I kind of draw half the shaft with that in, it's going to revolve that cut as well. And so, me with a little bit of experience, I can say, well, I'm not going to do the cut till after I get the whole shaft, and I'm actually going to cut across it and kind of put in this little this feature of this shaft has a flat spot in it. So all I'm really going to draw is just the main, like small little skinny section and then a wider section, kind of a nice like base foundation to start my shaft from, and then do any detail work secondary. The details that I will add to my initial sketch will be chamfers. I think chamfers I will add usually an inventor. I'll add them later, and I won't worry about them. I'll draw my shaft with all square corners, and I'll chamfer them later. I don't think the chamfer command works as quite as intuitive in CAD, so I think I'll add the chamfer, which is this little chamfer here is a 0.03 chamfer to the end. It's just kind of a little detune, like the machinist would detune that, so it's not a really sharp corner on that edge. It can allow it to slip into a bearing easier. So it's just kind of like I call it like detuning the end there, just kind of knocking that sharp edge off the corner. This one here has a sharp edge corner here, and so would this back one, which isn't totally normal, I guess. Like a lot of shafts, they'll detune a lot of these where there could be a pretty sharp corner, but you definitely don't detune them all the time. Sometimes there are reasons to have a nice sharp corner end of a shaft. So in this case, I'm going to assume there's a reason for those not being chamfered, and there's a reason why that little one out on the very end is chamfered. I'm just going to draw it that way. So what this looks like, and this is why I call it maybe one of the most important, because it's just drawing a shaft in 3D and using the revolve command is kind of my default as a drafter. That's in my desktop brain, is that I'm like, oh, if it's a shaft, I'm going to think about revolving it and drawing it kind of from this half of the profile of it. So I'm going to go to my model space. I'll go ahead and jump over to my shaded with edges. Anytime I'm opening up a new model space, I'm got to make sure that I set it up so it's in 3D. It's the same way, right? Here's my front view. If I'm looking at my view cube here, here's front and here's top. So I'm gonna plan this out. My front view is going to be looking at the end of the shaft. And this is another thing that kind of breaks the rules as well, wherever my drawing is here. Sorry, I thought I had it up here. Which one am I? Oh, I was just looking at the assignments is what I was looking at. Let me pull up the actual assignment sheet here. I was just looking at canvas there, but I just want the shaft somewhere like this one. And so yeah, what was I going to say here? Oh, I was going to say that this one is kind of oriented how I want to do it. This is going to be my front view. I'm going to be looking right at this end here. And so I'll just see them as like almost two concentric looking circles here, or maybe three if I'm considering the chamfer here. But I'm just going to be looking at the end that way is going to be my front view. And my right side view is going to be looking this way. So I'll see the whole like linear length of the shaft in my right side view. So really, this is the one that kind of breaks the rule on the width being the longest width in the front view. So it kind of breaks some rules as well. On those blocks, I did put the width in their longest view in the front view. Here, I'm going to kind of break that rule, and my front view is just going to be looking like circles, and my right side view will be the shaft. And I think some companies may tell you to do it otherwise. That's fine, whatever they say, which one on a shaft they want to call front versus right side. But really, it's only going to take two views of this too. It's going to take a front view to show kind of the diameters, at least as a view. I might not call out the diameters in the front view because I'm going to also have a right side view where those diameters are going to appear rectangular, and I'm going to probably call out their diameters in their rectangular view in the right side view. But what I'm going to do is just kind of pre-plan ahead that front view is going to be looking dead on the shaft as just circles, and my right side view is going to be the linear, kind of the depth of the part, essentially, kind of. So I'm going to do a little bit of a grid orientation because if I start drawing that here, if I just want to start drawing the shaft and the profile of the shaft here, that's going to be considered my top view. And my front view is maybe not going to be exactly what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe just move that grid because it's going to bind me to drawing on this grid. And so I'm going to draw this profile in the right side view, like here. Once I go to this view, I kind of lose my grid, but the grid's on the base here, right? But I really want to draw this profile as a right side view profile. So I'm going to kind of plan on this. I kind of rotate down so I can see my grid, but I don't want to draw with that grid in mind. I want to draw with maybe probably the right side grid in mind here. So I'm gonna toggle that on, and then the grid's oriented, which is kind of confusing. I'm not going to look at my view cube now. I'm going to go because that can be confusing. Yeah, I know you'll get this will be weird. And this is just me kind of pre-planning so that my front view is just looking dead on the circle shape of the shaft. So I'm just going to go, which is going to be my right side view. And all I really need is just a grid that's in that orientation. Whether it's the right or left, I really could choose either one in my mind. Left or right. I think I just chose right. And then I'm just going to draw this. I'll just use polylines to draw this thing here to this shape here. So I have these dimensions up, not this one. In fact, I don't even need that one anymore. I actually need this one. So it's going to be 4.062. So really, I'm thinking of myself being like right on the center axis of this. I'm going to draw the overall length here, and then I'm going to come up half of that essentially because I'm kind of at the center axis of this is how I'm going to draw this. So I'm going to draw the first line as the center axis. Then I'm going to come up pretty much half the diameter, like a radius, which is going to be half of this. So that's 1 1/8. So that's going to be a half plus a 16th. That's 9/16. So really, I'm going to draw the center axis and I'm going to come up 9/16. And then I'm going to go over, and I'm not going to put in all these details, but I want to go over however long this is before it goes down. I don't think it's explicitly giving on this drawing. It's not giving me that length, but I am giving it here. So I might come back to this end now from this center axis and draw up a radius. Half of 625, that's 5/8. Half of 5/8 is 5/16. So that's going to be 5/16 radius up, and then it's going to come back 1.312, and then it comes up and then back to that point there. So I'm going to draw that in as kind of like, yeah, just half of it essentially. Like and my base is going to be the axis, the center axis of the shaft. So what that looks like here is I'm on this grid plane now. It's the right grid plane essentially. And then this is going to become my kind of my right side view. So with a polyline on my visible object layer, sure. My polyline, I'm just going to plop a point anywhere. I don't care where I draw this in space. But I do need it to be 4.062 is what the dimension is on that drawing. And what it allows me to do is kind of like pictorial drawing. It allowed me to be on this grid plane, kind of drawing the profile of the shaft. So in this direction, it was the overall diameter now is 1 1/8, but I want it to be just the radius of that. So that is 0.5625. It's 9/16. And then it comes back this way with all the details. And see, I've kind of rotated this, so I'm kind of looking like I'm drawing in 3D, but really I'm on a 2D plane in 3D space. This one I don't know. It wasn't given on my, yeah. So I went up 9/16. I went over 4.062, and then I went up 0.5625. That's 9/16, 5625. And then I'm going to bail on that, and I'm going to come back to this end and lock in on this point here. And I'm going to draw this up as a radius of the shaft. But that little end is only a 5/8 diameter on the little end. And so I just need the radius of 5/8, which is 5/16, which I have memorized. It's 0.3125. So that's kind of the radius of the small end here. And then this way is 1.312. It's almost like it's 5/16, but they've dropped off anyway. I've just drawn it exactly with the dimensions they gave me, 1.312. And then it comes up and meets this. So if I have that, like, if I have my tracking on here, I can just kind of highlight that point and pull away. And it acts like I would on a normal 2D plane here, right? And then I come back to this point here. And that's kind of my shape. That's a profile of the half the shaft is what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. And I'll be able to revolve this around. What a revolve is, it's going to make a circle out of this shape. And so we'll see that in a minute. The last thing I want to add is this, all my corners are square here, right? Right here, this one. I didn't dimension that. I just actually targeted this point, and then I came back and I used my polar tracking, this one here, right? My object snap tracking to like locate in. Yeah. Because I'm snapping it into that grid that's nice and square. So I'm able to use those tracking lines to locate that. This one, this one, this one right here. This is point 3125, because that's half of 5/8. Yeah, you'll get used to that. I mean, your career is going to be, you're going to have a decimal equivalent chart probably on your desk real close to it, because you're going to continually be using fractions and decimals and jumping back and forth between those. Over 1.31. Yeah, correct. This is 1.312. Yep, exactly right. If I draw that again, it's just like I went this way, 4.062. Then I went up 0.5625, because that's 9/16. And then I couldn't go over this way because I didn't know how long, so I bailed on that and I went back over this way. And I went here, locked in, and went up 0.3125. And then I went this way, 1.312, because they gave me that dimension. And that ended up me here. And then I just kind of like targeted this point, pulled away, and had that grid snap tracking on. And then I click there for the up, and then I hook this shape up like that. So there's my other one. But what we want to kind of fix here, and I can rotate this around to kind of it says it's top here. I'm not gonna trip out on that too much, but sometimes I'll use my navigation to just like snap to a nice 2D plane that I've drawn here. Because I want to put in this little chamfer right here. So I think the chamfer command will work on this. On our modify tab here, our normal little fillet and chamfer commands are there. Let's just try that here. But what I want to do is like chamfer this at a point 0.03. That's this little chamfer they're calling out right here. It's a 45-degree, which just means it's an equal leg chamfer, really. It's like 0.03 by 0.03 are the two lengths you need. If you remember your chamfer skill or your chamfer tool here. I know we don't use it a lot, but we have used it. So if I select chamfer, let me just see if this works. Sometimes the 3D geometry or your 3D drawings are weird and they don't. Let me see if this one will work. So I'm going to set the distance first on a chamfer. It's kind of like pick the radius of a fillet first. I'm going to select my distance of my chamfer, because default is 0 like this, unfortunately. So I'm going to select my distance as 0.03. It just needs to know in which direction because chamfers can be unequal leg chamfers or they can be equal leg. So it just doesn't know if you want them to be equal or not. So it's going to preload the first one I said. And so that's fine. I just hit enter again. That's both lengths of the chamfer. And then I should be able to select this, maybe it, and then this one, hopefully. Yes. So it chamfered like that. Point 0.03 is the chamfer there. And now I don't know this is a polyline. I've got segmented polylines here. I drew them as a polyline, so they are connected, whatever I didn't, whatever I connected. But I'm going to join all these as one. And I think this is pretty critical. I think Abby drew this up yesterday and we kind of experimented with. It might be the difference between using polylines and lines. And lines, if you join them, it might just make a or if you don't join them, maybe it makes a surface rather than a solid. And I want this to become a solid revolve solid. And so what I do is I'm just going to join these. I think it's just a good habit on this particular case to make a solid. Then I'm going to say join, which is on my modify tab here. Join. I'm going to join everything, kind of like we would. We will definitely do this when we make an ornament and we want like our shapes to all be joined so we don't have like a machine interpret wrong. But yeah, joining is just a real handy thing in 3D modeling as well. So I'm gonna join all this so it's a single selection. Yep, everything is single selection. And then this drawing is kind of done. I'm just ready to revolve this and see if it works. I've done this a few times and I have some errors, but let's see what I get here. So here's my revolve. It's under you might have extrude showing here. So if I expand extrude, there's revolve. This is the one I want to use. Creates a 3D solid or surface by sweeping a 2D or 3D curve around an axis. So this is our axis that we're gonna revolve around. So when you choose revolve, it just wants to know your profile. So I should be able to choose that as my profile. So I'm gonna say enter on that now. That's my profile. And then it wants to know that it's like a mirror. It wants to know a mirror line axis, or in this case, a revolving axis. And so I'm just going to choose this line on 2 points of it. It doesn't matter where else I choose. I don't have to choose it from end to end. It just knows I'm going to keep this thing. And then it should show up like this. What it wants to know is how many degrees you want to revolve that around now, is what it's asking me. So I'm going to say I want it to be 360. And then there's my shaft. And then if I jump out to maybe what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go back to my like top plane here. Oh yeah, for sure. I have another one to do it. Look at that. Look at that. I've got another one. It's like I planned ahead for this, right? What I did is I went back. I was just checking mine real quick. I went back to like my top coordinate plane and this is gonna be the front view of my part when it comes to my drawing space, and this is gonna be my right side view. That's just kind of the way I planned it. It does kind of look funny, like it's gonna be. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Yes, I have my shape. I'm gonna be back on that right side plane is where I'm going to, right side grid here. And so I just need to do my quick chamfer real quick before I do this one. So let me do my quick chamfer. It'll have those last settings set, so I can just choose these and chamfer that real quick. Then I would have joined these, which I can select first, then maybe select join. So I've got them as a single selection. And then it's just revolve. So revolve is that one buried under extrude. Here's revolve. Revolve wants to know the objects to revolve. So that's why a single selection now will be that profile as my revolve. And I just hit enter. That's everything I'm revolving. Then it needs to know that axis, just like mirroring. I feel like it's just like a mirror command. It needs to know. And I'm going to select this because this is like it's like I've only drawn half the shaft, essentially, is what I've drawn. And then I'm just picking 2 points along this line. I think it's going to bind me to that. I'm looking for that projection snap there. And then it goes into this now. So I've selected that. I left click twice to define the axis. And then it wants to know how far are you revolving here. The thing you have control over is the degree of revolution there. And we want to go 360 degrees all the way around. We want this to become like a circle, essentially, like that. And then I just entered that and hit enter, entered my data and then hit enter, and there's my solid shaft now. And then to go back to kind of like getting your bearings for your UCS and kind of the way this is going to show up on a drawing, I generally go back to the top. Top is kind of where we would normally draw at the home here. Let's see here, top. There's my UCS maybe there. I don't know where it is. Yeah, like this. Yeah, it's right here under extrude. This expandable menu is where you're going to find revolve or sweep or loft. And then I know if you have to take off, that's fine. I might just finish at least placing this on my drawing. Like I need to do that cut and but maybe I'll show you that this should be like talking from my print to this, once I put this on my print, it should accept any. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this on my print right now, my two views and my isometric. And then I'm gonna come back to the model space and do a cut and it should update on my drawing. And I'll see if I have errors like that last modification I did, but I shouldn't on this, but so I know I have two. If you only have one, that's fine. I just want to send one of these to my drawing space. I'm gonna click select base. I've gone to my drawing, by the way, and I've already deleted I have no viewport on here because I don't need it. So I'm just going to go base. I do need to. I'm going to come back and do it in just a minute. First, I'm going to just check them. Yeah. It's me kind of showing that, oh, you should be able to still modify your model and have it make those updates on your drawing space. So I'm going to kind of do that. Like I place something on my drawing and I can go back and modify it and have them talk. Obviously, when I tried the union command on that last object, it did mess everything up. So I'm kind of experimenting here a little bit, but so I choose my base from model space. I'm just going to select this first one that I drew, hit enter. I want it on my B size layout, so I'm going to hit enter. It's going to take it. So, but see, it's taking me over there as this is my front view. I've kind of pre-planned this. This is what I was expecting to get as my front view. And so I'm going to left click here. And then if it wasn't correct, if you drew it kind of incorrect, you have that option to change your views necessarily. But I don't want this. I actually want I want this to be my front view looking dead on the shaft like this. So I'm going to say yes, that's fine. And then I'm going to place a right side view as well. It looks like this is going to be a little bit too big. And then I want an isometric view of the shaft as well. So I'm going to place that and I'm going to hit enter. I've got these three views. I think they're going to be a little bit too big. So I'm going to scale this one. This is a quick access to scale too. I just feel like it doesn't have the ones loaded that I might use. So 1:1 might be a little bit too small. Yeah. So maybe a 1.5 scale is what I'm going to do here. So I can just edit that view. And maybe it seems like 1.5 seems to be my magic scale for these drawings. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, this is the parent view here, right? This one. This one here, I'm going to move it down on my sheet. I went to a 1.5. Yeah. I might change this to a 1 if I feel like I'm clashing into my dimensions. I'm going to have some dimensions on this one here, but I'm going to change this one at least to edit this view to be just visible and hidden lines, or sorry, just visible lines like that. Yeah. And then maybe I will change the scale from parent. Maybe I will scale this at 1. Okay. So now I'm going to go back and do that cut, and it should update on this drawing. That's kind of what I was wanting to experiment with. Because I'm not going to do any unioning. I'm not going to really change the solid. I guess that union thing just might be changing the solid a little bit. I don't know. This one, I'm just going to cut away the solid. So I feel like what I'm going to do here, this is the one that I have on my print. I'm going to go to the wireframe view of this. And what you have is you'll have grips associated with this that you would any kind of like lines or solids. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in just some construction material with a rectangular cutout there. And I'm just going to draw it kind of on the center on this top surface. So this line they have, sorry, I'm rotating around this a lot, but this line that's in the top of this is kind of top dead center or 12 o'clock of this shaft right here, that particular line. So I feel like I have some geometry to kind of with grips that I can work from. So if I look at the dimensions that I need, it's going to come over 0.68, and then it's going to go down 0.125, and then it's going to come over 0.125 and back up. So kind of a rectangular cut that I'm going to make is kind of 0.125 by 0.125 or 1.25. That's easy to get confused there. Yeah, watch your decimal. And I'm going to make this little rectangle, and I'm going to cut it across it. but I'm just going to draw the profile of the cut kind of on the center at 12 o'clock location, kind of is what I'm doing. So here I come over here on my construction layer. I'll just do this as construction work again. And maybe I'll just draw a line or a polyline. I should be able to snap into this. Sorry, I should be able to snap into this grip. I know if I zoom in too close, it's like I lose it, but I'm kind of like wanting to know from like right here. And I'm wanting to draw this down this long, 0.68, I think is what it said, right? 0.68. So 0.68. Sorry. And then it wants me to continue drawing down, right? Like maybe I'll draw this shape as a pot. Oh, did I just maybe I escaped? No, I've got my line there. It's hard to see, but I can see it. It's got an endpoint with it too, right there. I'm gonna come back in here with a polyline and snap into this endpoint. And then I want to be able to draw kind of down, but this grid won't let me draw down, right? Like it's kind of binding myself. Yeah, so I'm gonna snap over to like the right side grid, like here. Maybe I have to exit the command in order for that to work for me. Let me try that again. Top to right side. There we go. Now I got my grid to kind of be on the kind of the plane that I want to draw in. I happen to be centered on that plane, but even if I wasn't, I'd still be drawing on that kind of referencing that plane. And but I'm going to snap to that point right there with my little, oh man, it's hard to see for sure. If you zoom in on this, it's weird. But I want to snap into this endpoint and then draw. I don't know what command I was in there. That was weird. Oh, what is that doing? I don't know what that's doing. That is weird. That's my polyline. Should that be what that's doing? I don't know why that's drawn. That's kind of weird. I'm just going to let that keep going because what I want to do is say that this is 0.125 down. Then it comes over this way, 1.25. That's going to go back up to, it's just the way I'm zooming. I don't know. This is weird. I can't remember I've seen those show up like that. It's so weird to me. Then it comes back up 0.125, and then it's going to go back to here and lock in on that. Then I'm going to escape this. So all I have is this like rectangle that I've drawn that I should be able to use as a cutting plane here. And maybe I'll just stay in this view to cut this. Like I think I should be able to use press pull on this shape. Maybe I got to select a few more. Press pull that shape, enter. Oh, maybe I didn't have it selected. Press pull this shape here, right? This shape this way. Oh yeah, maybe this isn't. Oh, maybe I got to join this thing first. I think I might have to join that shape. It looks like I'm getting cutting off by my grid for some reason. It's weird. Let me jump over to, oh, I'm on an unnamed grid. Maybe that's, I don't know what I'm doing here. Let me go to my top grid for just a second. This might be acting weird because of my view on my, I don't know. I don't know why mine's acting kind of goofy, but I've got something up with mine. Because every time I zoom in, I like disappear for some reason. Now I have nothing drawn there. There they are. Press pull is all I want to do, but I might want to join this up first. Join this to my geometry that I should have here, like those three, enter. Now I should have one single selection, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I didn't draw that right. Let me see. I think that I'm not doing well, actually. Yeah. I'm doing an extrude on mine, actually. My press pull is acting a little bit funny, so I went over to my extrude and I chose my geometry. And now this is like allowing me to like, so this is kind of what I was hoping to see. but I'm able to pull this extrusion across my, yeah. And this one, I'm just gonna like pick any dimension that's complete and passed here. I just want it to cut through. So maybe I'll just say it's like 1 inch extrusion. Yeah, there's like a 1 inch extrusion. Let me check though. This might not look like a solid. This could be, I may have to still do, no, that, yeah, see, that's a hollow. I don't want to do that. So that's like, if I chose extrude, it just chose the profile around it. It didn't choose it as a solid. So let me go back. Let me undo that. I don't know why I'm having trouble selecting. I feel like my shape is not on the plane that I want it to be necessarily. Maybe I should be able to extrude that though. Let me try to join this again. Maybe I undid my join for some reason. Join this to this, to this, to this. These should all join. Enter. Is that a single selection out? Okay, this, yeah, you may have to, yeah, yeah. I do feel like some of these views are kind of weird. World view is working good for me, or my top view is working good for me again. My right side view is getting a little weird, like it was cutting off my imagery. And I did want this to become one single selection. So I've joined all that. Now my press pull should function like it does normally. Like, there it goes. Good, good, good. I don't know. I think I thought I joined, but maybe I undid my command and didn't join. But now I've got it joined. And this dimension to me isn't super critical, just that it cuts through completely through. And so even a half inch looks to me like it cuts beyond the shaft like that. That's good. Now I'm just going to check my solid here, just make sure that I'm not looking at, something weird. That's more correct. Yes. I'm going to extrude the other side or press pull the other side of that too into becoming this cut solid here. So I'll go back to my wireframe. Yeah, it's just funny. The issues you have are probably not the issues I'm having. The issues I'm having, you're probably not having. Press pull this shape again this way. I'm going to just pull it out here a half inch. And now I've got this like these kind of two solids. I could join them or not, but like if I go back to my print and look at this, these probably don't show up because they're just construction lines on my print. But let me click this over to a shaded with edges. I just want to do a subtraction. I want to subtract that from that. So let's see. Subtract this. And these two I want to subtract from it. So I can select them both at the same time, I think, and then hit enter. Then I get my cut. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
When we go to dimensioning, are we gonna want the width of